Tuggle Scholars podcast at UTSA, promoting diversity in environmental science and ecology.
Welcome back to the second episode of Environmental Roadrunner, guys. We are deviating from our originally planned topic because for this episode, we got something very special. We had an opportunity to interview Dr. Benjamin Tuggle, who was formerly the Assistant Director for Science Applications for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and he's now retired. He was also formerly the Southwest Regional Director and has had a long-standing relationship with the faculty and us students here at UTSA.
Yeah, so some quick background on why we're talking to Dr. Tuggle for this episode. So several faculty from the Environmental Science Department and the English Department collaborated to create a grant to develop a scholars program that would give students skills and opportunities to develop as scientists and to be more effective in science communication. And this program was named after Dr. Tuggle to honor kind of everything he's done for students, and he kind of embodies those skills in communication and just being a good scientist. So it's kind of part of why they picked him as the namesake for this program. So all of us here and others in our cohort were given the opportunity to be fellows in the Tuggle Scholar Program, for which we are all very grateful. It's a cool program.
Yes.
And it was a pleasure to listen to Dr. Tuggle, and we hope that you enjoy hearing a bit about his life and some of the great wisdom he's gained through the many years of his career.
Dr. Tuggle, welcome to our podcast, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. I very much appreciate the opportunity.
With this being a graduate student-oriented podcast, if you could go back in time during when you were in graduate school, what would you tell yourself then? What kind of challenges you faced? Would you,
Yeah, if you give yourself like a piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Well, the thing that I learned eventually was not to be afraid. And I say that from the standpoint of all elements of fear. I was afraid I was going to flunk out. I was afraid that, I wasn't going to meet my advisor's expectations. I was afraid that, that graduate student was going to steal my idea and then get a dissertation out of it. I was totally kind of immersed in that level of sensitivity. And the thing that I would say is that as a graduate student, you will not ever have a greater opportunity to not be afraid and to do different things. You're among some of the brightest people in the world. You're among some of the greatest and brightest peers in the world that you'll develop these relationships and keep them probably over your lifetime. And so take the time to develop those things. The academic portion is going to come and go. But if you've gone to graduate school or gotten into graduate school, the academic part is a performer. It really is. Mm-hmm. You're smart enough to be able to figure that out. But the graduate stuff, talk to your other classmates and get involved in their interests and their dissertations. I never will forget that when I overcame my fear of all of these things, there was a graduate student that was a spelunker. And so we traded skills. He helped me with my collection, and I told him that I'd help him with his. And he was doing a study on invertebrate lives in caves. Well, I don't know if you know that much about the topography in Ohio. I went to Ohio State. But there aren't a lot of caves. And so he helped me with mine, so I made a commitment to help him with his. And they weren't exactly caves. They were more like cracks in the ground. And so he would finagle his way into these cracks because these were all karst, limestone formations. And they were literally cracks in the ground. He would go down there and do it. And so that's not my thing. I wasn't going in with him, but I was going to stay outside in case he needed some help. But one of the things that I did get to know was a lot about the troglodyte type mentalities that happen subterraneally, and some of the insect and amphibian fauna that's there. It was fascinating. It really was. And so that expanded my kind of knowledge of what happens underground. So when I was the regional director, we had a lot of things that were going on in the Ozarks and all of the karst topography that's there. But probably more importantly, I got to understand a little bit more about the Edwards Aquifer and all the karst topography that's happening with the aquifer and all the animals that are underneath there. And so without that fundamental background to try to figure out kind of whether I liked it or not or get introduced to it, if I was afraid, I was afraid to go into those caves, go those cracks in the ground, but not afraid from the standpoint of finding out what this graduate student was interested in. I think I would have been at a disadvantage when I actually was facing, having to make some decisions about endangered species and how to protect them and how important the aquifer was to those species that were subterranean. I will always be grateful for, that opportunity to be educated in things that I wasn't necessarily interested in. But it is the only time that I know in my life that I probably had the opportunity to be exposed to all kinds of different things, to only resurrect them later on in my career. And so to make a long story short, don't be afraid. Take full advantage of every opportunity you have, because you will not have another chance in your life to just be exposed to things. And you'll be surprised at what you resurrect later on in your careers.
That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. That wraps us up. Dr. Tuggle, thanks again for spending some time with us. We're very, very grateful that you came to see us.
Well, I'm very pleased and very happy to be invited to help you out with your podcast. So
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That was great.
Great information.
We talked about mentors and not being afraid, and just anything, being a grad student, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to go along and do your research and all that sort of stuff. And I felt like that really stuck with me. And I'm just starting out, so of course I'm afraid. I don't know what I'm doing. So,
I think he made it seem much more attainable to get to someone of his professional stature. Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he's real up there.
Yeah, he's so chill and cool, and I don't know. I get anxiety when I'm meeting I don't know.
Important people.
Yeah, I can't even speak to professionals, and they're like, "So what's your project on?" I'm like, I don't like this. You guys all see me present, so I don't know. I thought that was cool. It made it easier.
He was great. He was very relaxed. I really like his intro sequence. That was really just a great way to kick off the interview. Him talking about just dealing with that initial start of his career and just how that taught him
the ducks and
teaching him a big lesson and what it is to be kind of a manager, and not only just taking the information you get from research, but now how do you apply it. I think you made a great point of what do you do with science if you can't actually apply it. So
and it goes beyond management. I mean, because that's kind of what we're getting into. It's not going to be enough for us to just keep our lab coats on and crunch numbers and write papers. We are entering a field where our job is to fix a problem that's going to affect everybody, and we have a lot of resistance to those efforts. So it's our job to, I don't say convince or browbeat, but win allies, and we do that by understanding everyone else's perspective. I think so. That whole point about, we get that you have this idea that will save the ducks, and it will definitely work. We trust you. But that's not the problem we're trying to fix over here. Here's our other issues, and understanding those other layers outside of the study that you're doing. What kind of things you have to be concerned about. It actually reminded me, I don't know if you guys got a chance to meet her, Cheyenne Love. She's one of our grad students. She just defended her thesis a couple weeks ago, and it was on looking at the effects of access deer on water quality. And the thing is, one of her study sites is in a housing development where these people really like these deer. They're considered pets. Well, they're an invasive species. They're introduced. And they were really, really worried that Cheyenne was going to find something wrong with these and then take their deer away. And she had to really kind of understand from their perspective and talk through it, and said, I just want to know, what kind of effects they have on the water so that we can learn how to manage the water, not get rid of the deer.
Yeah. And that's always hard with like invasives, especially with like the community. I was just thinking about like, especially if it's a charismatic like animal that people like, you really have to think of ways to manage the other things without eradicating the invasive. Even though
these were an imported species brought in for hunting ranches from India. And they broke out of captivity and
like feral pigs.
Yeah, it's a little easier to convince people to get rid of pythons in the Amazon than in the Everglades than fluffy cute deer.
But that was just another example that I saw in parallel. Knowing beyond what you want to learn as a scientist, what your community is expecting out of you, and
what your community is expecting out of you. Sorry, that hit me deep. That's so true. Because you have to balance both.
Absolutely.
Well, that seems to be a focus of just like with the grant that we got, bringing communication into all the different programs, all the different classes we have. Because we might know the research and what we're doing, and we have all the numbers, but if we can't communicate it effectively to the public, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
They're not going to have any connection to it. So,
for sure. So
you have to make it, what's the word when it's altruist? That's not the right word. Never mind, forget that.
Altruistic?
Is it like when it has to benefit you for you to care? Intrinsic? It's one of those words. Something is
it's the what's in it for me. That's what we have to. That's the message we got to get out to folks, and the only way we're going to know how to tell them what's in it for them is we need to learn about them. And we need to quit thinking of them as them. It's us. It's all of us.
Everybody.
I'm just going all sorts of like super Zen master.
I know, I'm here for it. Sage, yes. We're in Aries. The moon is in Aries.
Bring the wisdom.
Is that it?
That's it. So
all right.
I think so.
We will see you guys next time. And do more science.
Woo!
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amanda Lamberson, Eugene Von, Marina Zanino, Alex Totter, all graduate students in environmental science and ecology, produced by Tyra Allen.